What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another Tottenham update. And joining me today, we got Ash Matic. How are we doing, Ash? You feeling okay?
Well, I'm alive, man. The sun's out, so I can't complain.
Yeah, you seem to be doing better than me. I don't know if you can tell, but my hay fever isn't at the best stage at the moment. So shout out to anyone who's suffering from hay fever at this terrible, terrible time in the summer. Look, this lovely weather does come with some drawbacks, as you can see on my face. But let's get into the Tottenham news that has been happening over the last 24 hours. We'll start off with the big Kulusevski news. That broke yesterday on Friday afternoon. According to Fabrizio Romano, Tottenham have managed to negotiate a €5 million discount on the initial buy option clause in the Dejan Kulusevski deal. DiMarzio confirming the price and saying that Tottenham are set to reach an agreement with Juventus for Kulusevski, and both are claiming that an official announcement could be imminent as to the completion of his permanent signing. So I guess there was a lot of anxiety, wasn't there, about this deal going forward. No, everyone's wondering, June 17th now, why has this not been signed? I guess a €5 million discount is pretty good going from Levy in terms of his negotiation. £26 million for a player of Kulusevski's age and quality is a pretty good deal, considering what a player of his quality would cost around Europe at this time. So I guess you've got to give Levy props for getting the price down.
Yeah, this time it's worked, and it's early positives I can see. He's, like you said, he's the right age. Whatever you think of him, whatever people think of him, whether they think he's a squad player or if he's a first teamer, the age profile is there and the quality is there for all to see. So he can play in not just on the wing but in the middle, and I'm sure he'll have a productive season for us under the new coach, Ange Postecoglou. I'm sure he'll have a look at him and make use of him.
For you, if you're putting your Juventus hat on for a sec, why would they agree to this price reduction? What's in it for them? Do they believe that they can't get the fee that they agreed with Tottenham from any other club? Or maybe do they believe that Kulusevski just has his heart set on Spurs and you might as well do the deal with them?
I think so much has happened at that club. There's so much hanging over their heads that I think, I'm not saying any business can get done at Juventus, but that one, I think they would have said in their head, they've let go of Kulusevski a long time ago. I think they would have just accepted that that deal was done. And because he didn't have a great season, and yeah, they're just willing to get rid of him because they haven't got any plans for him. No one else came in for him. And I think you're right. I think Kulu might have had a plot to play in it to say that he was happy, and that just pushed the fee down a little bit more. They need to, get their wages down like any other club or most Italian clubs, because we know there's a certain financial situation down there. So I think it just makes sense for both parties. But yeah, the fact that we didn't finish too well and we're still the only club coming in for him, I think that's got a massive factor of it.
Yeah, I agree as well. And what would you say is maybe his market value at the moment for a player of his age and quality? What do you reckon his market value is?
It's a good question. Last season, I would have put it a little bit higher. This season, if I was Juventus, to be fair, 35 mil.
You reckon? So you reckon we're paying? You reckon we're paying his value pretty much? You don't think we're getting good value?
Only because of the back of last season, what just happened. The season he joined, it was a short period, wasn't it? It was like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see it from that angle, then maybe a lot more. But off the back of this season, I know he had an injury and there was a World Cup in between, which he didn't go to. And
he's still young, though. He's still young, 23.
He's still young. But in terms of what he produced over a longer period, I think that has a big bearing of how much he's actually worth, if I'm being honest. 40 million, I'm not convinced, if I'm being honest.
Really? I would say his worth is closer to 45 or 50 right now. So I honestly think that. Yeah, I think that because he's young, he's got bags of ability. He obviously did well in Italy for Parma as well. Internationally for Sweden, he seems to be doing well. And then obviously at Tottenham, I think, yeah, last season didn't have the best ending. But I think if you take his whole Tottenham time at Tottenham overall, I think his stats are pretty strong. I think it's like 27 goals and assists in like 40 games or something like that. And I think as well, even last season when he was going for a rough patch, I think there was still a lot of good performances and good things there. And then obviously you take into account his first 6 months where he was really explosive. And you consider his age, I think. And also there's a bit of a dearth of left-footed right wingers right now as well in European football. There's not like tons and tons of them to choose from. So I think his value is actually significant, a lot more than what we're paying, in my opinion. So I think we've done well to get the price that we're getting. But we await the official announcement. Hopefully, it will be maybe early next week that he'll be officially be a Tottenham player. We can maybe move on from that transfer. So fair play, Levy. He did get a bit of a discount, which is a bit surprising, but yeah, I think it's a good signing. Moving on. We're going to talk about Sky Sports Lyle. He is claiming that Tosin Adirabayo of Fulham is among the centre-back options being considered by Tottenham this summer. He is obviously a 25-year-old centre-back, played 25 times for Fulham last season. He's English. He has 1 year left on his contract. He's really, really tall. He's like 6'4", 6'3", 6'4" centre-back. I remember being very impressed with him 2 seasons ago when Fulham actually got relegated, and he was like starting every game, and he was one of their main players. Last season, I don't remember like him having an outstanding season. Maybe that shows by the fact that he didn't start maybe as much as he did a couple of years ago. He has been a centre back who's fairly good on the ball. He is strong. Don't think he's never been capped by England or anything like that. Is he one that you would want Tottenham to look at in the summer?
It depends on well, it's got to be a rotation because he's a right-sided centre back, isn't he? Right.
Yeah.
I have seen him on the left sometimes, but it's majority of the right he plays on. Looks like you said, he's very tall, long-legged, kind of like has a bit of pace as well, but composed as well. I think he's quite composed in that back line. Can play it out from the back and reads the game fairly well. I would take him it depends who goes out. If we're getting rid of both Tanganga and Sanchez, I would definitely take him as a squad rotation player.
He could be very cheap. I just think he could be a cheap option, I guess, an English option as well. So when you consider that we're looking for homegrown players, but yeah, quality-wise, I don't know. I mean, if we take him just because he's cheap, I'd rather invest in a bit of a better quality, maybe because he's 25. So if he's not young, he's not old when it comes to centre backs, but he's not exactly really young either. So at this stage of his career, maybe it could be a surprisingly good investment. Maybe we might be getting him under the radar where a lot of teams scoff at him. But then again, I feel like there are better options out there, albeit you might have to pay a bit more. But I do think there are better younger options. I reckon you can get a defender who's at the same level as Adirabayo, who's a bit younger. But maybe you might have to pay a bit more. But I reckon those defenders are out there. So, I mean, it's not one I would be particularly excited about. I can see the logic in it, but because he's fast, he's young, he's strong, he's tall, and he's good on the ball. But is he of the required standard that is worth it for us to invest in?
Well, for me, I just look, does he make errors? I don't see him make a lot of errors on the ball when I've checked it out. And that's a big thing for me. Can he recover possession if we lose the ball? Yes, he can. We've already mentioned his pace, his height, his ability, and his ability on the ball. Romero's going to be playing majority of the games, I would think. And if you're going to get a player to play second fiddle and be a squad player when Romero is out, is not a bad option. I do concede that there are better central defenders out there, but it depends how you look at it. Do you want your defender? If you want your defender to push Romero, then I'd agree with you, Sim, and say like there's better out there. But I would rather spend that extra money on getting a top quality left-sided centre back and possibly getting another centre back to cover that position. It all depends as well if you think Longley is a suitable enough squad addition. For me, I want my centre backs to have pace if we're going to play the high line. So anyone we bring in, I want them to be able to run back, be composed on the ball as well. and be like a modern day centre back. And he suits that quota. Use some of that money to get two left-sided centre backs, and I think that would make more sense to me in my head logically. But yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I would rather go for Adirabayo than Longley, to be fair, if we're going for a backup option, because I do think, at least with Adirabayo, he does have those physical qualities over Longley, and he's got a good part, and he's got a good possession base as well. And if he can improve that play on the ball to where maybe Longley is, then all of a sudden you've got a much better defender than Longley there already, and he's younger. And and I wouldn't say he's cheaper, but the price difference with 1 year left on his contract, I don't think would be significantly different either. So I'd rather go for Adirabayo than a Longley. That's fair. But I just think Adirabayo right now, I see the logic. I do see the logic. But I just one I don't see Tottenham being serious about. Although Levy, at that price, if we can get him for like 15 million or something, maybe it would be a punt. I guess it needs a bit more due diligence from the scouting, just to see if he's definitely a right fit. But I mean, quality. I mean, when you look at the profile, there is potential there. You just need to sharpen up on a few things. Next up, we're going to talk about Foot Mercato's report on Maxwell Caqueret, I think is how you pronounce it. He's a Lyon midfielder. According to Foot Mercato, they said Lyon midfielder Maxence Caqueret is an interest to Tottenham and Borussia Dortmund. He's obviously a midfielder who plays more number 6 position in where we would want him. He's more of a defensive midfielder. He's he's one of those midfielders who likes to recycle the ball a lot. He's strong. He's quite composed. He's got good passing range, and his defensive ability is good. So we would sign him maybe at the base of our midfield. Obviously that might be a player you think we need. He might be fairly expensive. He's quite young. He's 22. Lyon have had good previous for midfielders as well. Paqueta, Bruno Guimaraes coming from there not so long ago. But then again, you do have Ndombele, so it goes both ways. But is he one who you think would be a good addition to our midfield?
It depends who leaves, but yeah, I think he would. I look at him. I haven't seen a lot of him, but I look at him and he screams a younger Rabiot without the attitude. So that hard-working, technical kind of player where he runs quite a bit, wins the ball back, like you said, gives simple passes over to it, can bring the ball forward, can dribble, has creativity as well from what I've seen. This year he's really stepped it up, and he hasn't scored as much as maybe like a Rabiot, but in terms of like helping his team out and assisting in goals, he's definitely done that. And that's what I want from my 6. I want him to obviously win the ball back, intercept and tackle, and that's what he does. He wins a lot of his ground duels, but at the same time, if he can assist going forward, that would be brilliant. And looking at his age profile and what he's done, I compared him to Moses Caicedo. I compared him to Rabiot. And he's not bad at all. He's not bad. I'm not going to lie to him.
To be fair, last season he got 4 goals and 7 assists, so he's really upping his goal output.
That's what I'm saying to him. So that's what I mean by the creativity. I mean, the 4 goals is not bad. From a 6, I'll take that. 7 assists is pretty decent from someone that's far back. So someone that can create from deep. That's what we want. Someone that can distribute the ball short and long, medium. He's got a bit of both, and he's got a little engine on him, and he's young. And I think he's only going to develop under the right coach. He will only get better. So when I put all of those factors into consideration, I don't think he's a bad find, if I'm being totally honest.
He's already 23 years old. He's played over 100 games for Lyon as well. So he's quite, he's played quite a lot of football already at such a young age.
And he's a French 21 international. So
French 21, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
that's no joke. They've got a lot of talent in that position. So for him to get to that level shows a lot of his worth.
Yeah, I wonder what his contract situation is. Let me just check. His contract is up in 2027, so he's got a nice long contract ahead of him. So market value on transfer market is 25 million. You're probably looking at
35,
40,
40.
yeah, 35, 40 million.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially that's one we can look at. I think he improves our technical ability in the centre of the park. He's a player who can only get better as well, in my opinion, at that age. And I think he could be perfect for that number 6 position. I think, albeit maybe he's a player who's a bit versatile, could play one of the number 8s if need be as well, if they have injuries and stuff. And he can fill in because his goal contribution outputs have seemed to be improving as well. So
even his shots on target, quite impressive. Even against Bruno Guimaraes, if you check the two, Sim, it's not a bad output what he puts. Maybe if he's higher up in the pitch, he shoots a lot more. He's going to score more goals, in my opinion. So again, you compare him against Bruno Guimaraes, we know what a fantastic player he is. This is definitely one I would definitely consider.
Yeah, I guess it depends what midfielder we're going to prioritize, because we know we need an attacking midfielder, like a one whose strengths come shooting and creating chances and things like that. I don't think he's that kind of midfielder where that's his strength, main strength anyway. It's a tool in his armory, but whether that's his main strength, like say a Maddison or Eze or Pedro Gonçalves, someone like that, I don't think he's on that level of like output. But then is he too offensive to play the number 6 position, or is that like the right position for him? I guess it depends what we're looking for, because he does seem to be a player who has been increasing his offensive output, but he also does seem to be a player who as well can do that role sitting at a base midfield and knitting the play together. So I guess it depends what kind of role we want him for. Or maybe we want him for the box-to-box kind of number 8, but then we have players there or at the club already who can probably do that job. So
my thing is, to be fair to him, he's 22 years old, and we've got a coach now that coaches young players, especially, and develops them. So I think if he was to come to the club, I would hope that we get the best out of him in that 6th role. And if we wanted him to be a bit more disciplined and sit, he could do that. If we wanted to be multifaceted and cover one of the other positions, he possibly could do that as well. The main thing for me is that he's mobility, good lateral movement. He's got good legs, so he's got energy. He can run around the pitch, endurance. That's the type of things you want from a midfielder. Someone that can start from defense and then bring the ball forward into attack and start things. So when I look at him, I do see some of those attributes, and I think he can be developed further into a top player, especially at his age as well. That's the big thing for me, being 22. I think he's got a lot of he's got a higher ceiling than most.
That's true. Moving on, David Raya has done an exclusive interview with The Times, and he has been quoted as saying, "I have ambitions to make the next steps in my career. I want to try and win titles and to compete in Europe in the next couple of years. I'm now 27, and I feel like I'm at a point in my career where I want to make that step up. There are options out there, but it's not just my ambitions. The club also needs to let me go. I know there are rumours about me leaving. There are some options for me to go, but obviously Brentford are asking for a lot of money. That can make clubs not want to buy me. It could make them look somewhere else. But if that's the value they give me, then it's up to them. I have a year left on my contract, and until then, I'm a Brentford player. There's nothing I can do." Interesting quotes for a player who, I mean, reportedly has agreed to join a team who hasn't won a trophy in 15 years and currently isn't in European football. But do you read those quotes and think maybe he believes he can achieve those things at Tottenham, or maybe these quotes are made before he agreed a deal with Spurs? What do you reckon?
Depends how you look at it, Sim. It's half glass. Sorry, is the glass half full or is it half empty? So I'm gonna go with half full. I'm gonna be optimistic, and I don't know what's being said to him, because I'm assuming that Spurs are selling a project that, okay, we're not in Europe. No, we're not in the top 4. We might not necessarily get the top 4 next season. I'm not alluding to that in any fashion, but I'm assuming that the end goal is, when we're selling to players like that, we're trying to attract, that we want to be back in Europe. We want to be in the right place. And maybe his quotes are alluding to that. That's how I'm looking at it. But I'm under no illusion that there are other clubs looking at David Raya. I know Manchester United were looking at him last season. They did scout him last season. So it could be him, it could be them, it could be a number of clubs that are actually looking at him as well, not just Manchester United. There's quite a few clubs. not just in the Premier League but outside. So the world is his at the moment. Those quotes there, I don't read too much into them, but at the same time, I'm not a fool. I'm not an idiot. So I wouldn't be surprised if something doesn't happen, you know, within the next couple of weeks where another club might put a rival bid in. But I do think at the moment, because he has 1 year left on his contract, I do think that players aren't willing to pay the asking price of 40 million. I think that's a bit too high for most clubs. So they're waiting for that fee to drop a little before they start to enter negotiations. And I do believe that personal terms may have been agreed, maybe with us and maybe a couple other clubs, but we just don't know. These are the things that are the unknown at the moment.
Yeah, I'm hoping we've sold him the fact that even though last year's was terrible for Spurs and we haven't won a trophy in a while, that, you know, we have been a European team in our own right for a very long time over the past couple decades. Probably, you know, in it, we think in the past 20 years, we've probably not been in Europe maybe like 3 times potentially over the last 20 years. So in terms of European football, I'm sure he's confident he'll get that back at Tottenham. So maybe he's talking about, I want to be challenging Europe in the next couple of years. Maybe he thinks next year he's pretty much guaranteed to be in Europe if he goes to Tottenham. Maybe it feels like that. In terms of winning a title, though, he's going to have to earn that because we haven't won anything in 15 years. So it's interesting to say I want to try win titles and he goes and joins Tottenham. It's not like the best optical look, I guess, but maybe he's more confident and more ambitious to do that at Tottenham. Let's hope. But look, let's hope we get this deal done because it would be a really good coup to get a goalkeeper of his level to replace Hugo Lloris. And I'm confident he's the man that we need to kind of get for Hugo's long-term replacement, and I'm all for it. So interesting quotes from him, but let's move on. According to Plessigol on Twitter, he's given his say on Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. There are rumours that Bayern Munich were interested in him, but he says Højbjerg is not a transfer target for FC Bayern right now. However, his future is open. Other Bundesliga clubs are and more are monitoring him. Seems as though every report we're hearing is that Højbjerg's future is definitely up in the air right now. Nothing certain, which is a bit peculiar for a player who's been a mainstay in the team for 3 years. And as much as he's put in some poor displays, he as well has had some really good displays at the same token. What do you see him leaving this summer, or do you think it's a lot of talk and he'll end up staying?
Where did that talk or that caption come from, Captain Flappy Arms? Was that about him or was that about Eric Dyer? Because I remember like
Captain Flappy Arms. Oh, because he's always waving his arms about, feeling frustration. Yeah.
So I'm not sure. And even when Declan Rice came up to him, he said, "Nobody likes you." I was like, So I'm not totally sold that it's a happy camp, because I know there was a lot of fallouts, but we just don't know who were the culprits where people just weren't getting along, because there was arguments that were being had. I know Skip became a part of the actual what's it called, friends group. What's it called? I can't remember the name of
leadership group, the friends group. Yeah, leadership group. Yeah.
But yeah, leadership group. Sorry. I know Skip became part of that, so I don't know if he was calling him out. I don't know if it was a little bit of a bust up. I remember in the
there was also a very famous clip that went viral of him like remonstrating with one of his teammates, and then literally within a few seconds he like gives the ball away himself. So you know, those kind of things probably rub his teammates the wrong way.
Yeah, I remember in the tunnel at Southampton, he was talking to them. There was like footage of that, and he was trying to G them up. And then in the second half, that's when he kind of like made the mistake. And it was like, boy, you're telling everyone to do this, and then when it comes to you, like, where's the accountability? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I don't know. And you know what? When the quote came out from Conte as well, Conte mentioned something, you know, and Højbjerg questioned it, and he goes, he needs to clarify what he means by that. So Højbjerg's quite outspoken. So I don't know if he's ruffled a few feathers in the camp, possibly. I don't know. I'm just saying and putting it out there. I'm not there. I'm not the fly on the wall. So it could be a possible maneuver for him. Yeah, these rumors might have legs. I don't know. As fans, obviously, a lot of fans would say, don't get rid of him. Keep him in the squad because he'd be a good squad player. Because when you need to stink out a game, bring him on. He's solid as well. does a lot of running, hard working, good pass of the ball, can actually finish because he's got 5 goals last term, so 4 goals, whatever it was. So you know, he's a valuable asset to Spurs, but there's the other camp, other sets of fans say, you know, we'll get a lot of money for him. So out of all the players that need to go, or not need to go, that all the players that are linked to leave, he would probably be the most valuable, and he would probably get the most money out of him in terms of a possible sale. So in that sense, we could strengthen and get players in if we were to sell them. So the debate's there to be had. I don't know, Sim. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to say these rumors aren't true, because I think there's a possibility, strong possibility in that.
Yeah, as much as he's a leader, he doesn't like, I don't know what it is. He doesn't seem like to be the most popular member of the group, does he? You never see, there's not many like, you never see like too many clips or videos of people showing him love and stuff like that, like any of his teammates. But then again, there's nothing factually based on that. It's just more of a feeling I get. He doesn't appear to be.
Body language, body language.
Yeah.
You know, when they're like training and you see them come out in the groups, you always know like the English boys are with the English boys, or the Welsh, whatever. And you know that the South American guys are with the South Americans. Do you know what I mean? He's sometimes with the English lads, sometimes with some other guys, but it's never like the body language is. He's just got that demeanor that he's quite serious, if that makes sense, and not one of the lads. So I'm not sure if, and you do need some characters in there that, you know, tell it as it is. And they are going to upset a few feds, because that's what you can't have.
It's going to be frustrating, but it is going to be frustrating when they're telling you as it is, and they go out and make a mistake themselves.
Exactly, and you're losing.
They're not taking accountability. So
exactly.
I don't know if that's the case, but I mean, definitely there's been some evidence to suggest it might be part of it. But for me, I do think he's a good player. I would keep him around if we don't get us. Like, there are players who I just want out whatever value, like Sanchez, whatever, get him out. I don't care if it's 500,000 or 5 million or 10 million. Just want him out because we need that space. I don't feel the same at all about someone like Højbjerg. I think if we're not getting good value for him, then I think I would keep him. I think he could play a number of different roles in midfield, and I think maybe he can improve under Postecoglou as well. So unless we're getting like 30 million for him, I would keep him around. It'll be interesting to see what kind of interest we do get for him, and it'll be interesting to see what where that leads. There's a lot of rumors, huh?
Does he start? Does he start next season for you?
Depending on who we sign, but at the moment, probably yeah, because Bentancur's injured.
Where do you play him? Do you play him as attacking 8?
I'll play him as the less attacking 8 at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'll play him. Obviously, I'm hoping we sign a good number 10 this window, but obviously it depends a lot on how the window goes. And the last story comes from Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein. This is surrounding 15-year-old Mikey Moore. And Ornstein has confirmed that Mikey Moore has committed his long-term future to the club. According to a source, Real Madrid, AC Milan and Borussia Dortmund all have held talks with Mikey Moore's representatives, but Tottenham have had to rip up and change how their academy works with young talent to persuade Mikey Moore to stay. And we did hear but pre-Postecoglou's appointment that Spurs were going to completely revamp how they're approaching the academy when it comes to getting when it comes to keeping academy players, offering them more competitive contracts, and making sure that they're competitive with some of the top clubs, because we were losing a lot of our attacking talent, either due to lack of opportunities or because we never really offered competitive wages. So that does seem to be this maybe as a consequence of that. Apparently, he's a highly sought after 15-year-old forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how his future develops.
Yeah, I saw Madrid, Munich, Chelsea, quite a few clubs looking at him, trying to get him over the line. So I had a look at him and I can see why. The guy is quite gifted. He's an attacking midfielder and he can dribble, that's for sure. He can score goals. So I understand the hype. I understand why teams are looking at him. Albeit that he's playing for under 18s in the academy position, you can still see the quality of the player and he stands out like a sore thumb. So I'm glad that they're trying to sort out the actual academy situation and are taking it seriously, because like you said, we have lost quite a lot of talent over the years, and it'll be great if there is like a pathway. And now that we finished 8th, it's just a hard one because you just know that the boards, their ambition or their sole goal is to get into top 4. And will these academy players get a chance when the stakes so high? And yeah, that's my only question mark. It's glad that we're getting this more over the line because it looks like it's going to get done. But if things don't change and it's all talk in the future, you might see a few more academy players leaving, like Mundles, etc. So we need to start to somehow integrate them, especially if it's a cup game. And I know we're taking the cup game seriously, but there's no other way to fit them in. Well, league games you can, but it's just so much at stake at the moment. I just don't see the board saying like, give these kids a chance when they want the top 4. And the top 4 has never been, or should I say top 6 now, has never been so competitive ever in the Premier League from when I've been watching it. The stakes are so much higher, so much more clubs are vying for it. They know how much money's at stake. And TV rights, I think that's a big reason why we kind of a lot of fans think we've been screwed over because of the fixture list. But I think it's down to TV rights. If you're in Europe, you get prioritized. We're not in Europe, so we're not getting prioritized as much. And that's the reason why some of our fixture list has been a bit sticky, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm a big advocate for what's it called? Conspiracies as well. So I'm not ruling out any conspiracies against Spurs either.
Oh, it's good. With some of the decisions we've had over the years, I wouldn't be surprised. But look, Ash, big up to you, mate. Cheers for joining me on this Tottenham update. If you want to see more of Ash, go and check out Southview COYS. Link is in the title of this video, so go check him out. So big up to Ash. Let us know in the comment section below anything we discussed in today's video. Like, subscribe, and comment below. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.